everyone, I'm Cheryl Butler, and you're listening to the Mighty Mommy's Quick and Dirty Tips podcast, which will help make your life as a parent a little bit easier and a lot more fun. Welcome. Today's episode is number 551, How to Handle Your Child's Tantrums, 5 Easy Strategies. Because every parent will undoubtedly face many, many tantrums with their darling cherubs, but it's how we embrace them that counts. As the mom of 8 kids, I can't count how many tantrums I've endured, so this is a topic I love chatting about. But before we get started, today's episode is supported by teencounseling.com. Teencounseling.com connects your 13 to 19-year-old with a licensed professional counselor right where they spend most of their time, on their smartphone. You start by taking a short questionnaire to get matched with an appropriate therapist. Then, once you review their credentials and approve, the counselor and your teen will begin communicating directly. Help your teen take charge of their mental health. Mighty Mommy listeners can get 10% off your first month at teencounseling.com/mighty. That's teencounseling.com/mighty. This morning, your 3-year-old was an adorable ray of sunshine. Then, within seconds of announcing it was time to leave the park and go home, her happy-go-lucky mood changed into a raging outburst, like a scene in a cringeworthy horror movie, with dozens of bystanders in the vicinity, of course. What the heck just happened? A tantrum, that's what. Your child was in the full-blown throes of a meltdown. No parent enjoys tantrums. But the fact is, they're a normal part of childhood that every family experiences. The next time your child has a blood-curdling meltdown, try one of these 5 simple strategies. They'll help you embrace the moment rather than cringe, and soon you'll both be feeling the love again. Strategy number 1, stay calm. Although getting angry might be your first reaction when you're dealing with an explosive outburst, getting riled up is counterproductive. Kids feed off of the emotional atmosphere around them, so the best thing that you can do is to remain calm. Don't challenge your child when he's angry. Instead, show him the calm demeanor that you want him to mirror. When one of my kids is pushing my buttons or doing something that I find completely unacceptable, I count to 10, sometimes a lot more, and talk myself down. Stay calm and in control. This too shall pass, I tell myself. By taking a few seconds to get my own feelings in check, I can usually shift from being frustrated and ready to lash out to a calmer state. Then I can handle my child's situation without losing my composure. When you work to manage your own behavior first, you effectively neutralize the power struggle. Strategy number 2. Know your child's trigger points. Tantrums usually arise from one simple thing, a child not getting what she wants. When a child doesn't get her way, she responds with frustration, and in order to get your attention, she throws a fit. Tantrums are like a test your child is giving to you, her parent. How well do you understand her needs? In an article about tantrums by the Child Mind Institute, Dr. Vasco Lopes, a clinical psychologist, explained, a majority of kids who have frequent meltdowns do it in very predictable, circumscribed situations. When it's homework time, bedtime, time to stop playing, for instance. The trigger is usually being asked to do something that's aversive to them or to stop doing something that's fun for them. Dr. Lopes recommends building awareness of potential triggers and then eliminating or changing them so they're less of a problem for your child. Let's say your child has meltdowns when it's time to do homework. If you look for the underlying reason for his struggles, you might find that he has problems with organization and prioritizing, and that makes it hard for him to get started. Once you've figured out the issue that triggers the meltdowns, you can try to figure out ways to make things easier for your child. Maybe he needs someone to help him figure out what to work on first, or a plan to do his homework in smaller chunks with breaks in between. Strategy number 3, remote control the tantrum. When one of my kids had a meltdown, one of my favorite ways to handle it was to play a game that I called remote control. When we want to change channels on our TV or lower or raise the volume, we grab our remotes, right? Well, when one of my kids was throwing a fit or displaying some type of negative behavior, I would take the remote, or a pretend one, point it in their direction and say something silly like, "Pardon me, but Mom's going to change your angry channel to a happier one." Then I'd make some funny noises like I was truly changing the channels and walk away so they'd know it was up to them to follow the request. My kids loved it when I reduced the tension by doing something silly. And now that they're older, I still do it when someone has a scowl on their face. Strategy number 4, practice emotional competence. Emotional competence is an easy concept to grasp, and it can be instrumental in helping your child manage his feelings. Emotional competence is the ability a person has to express emotions, communicate them clearly, and regulate them. A person's emotional competence impacts their ability to make friends and have relationships with others. One of the reasons younger kids have tantrums is because they haven't developed good coping skills yet. For example, a 15-month-old child who doesn't have effective language skills can't tell his mother that he's still hungry after eating a small snack. When he realizes he's not getting any more food, instead of being able to communicate verbally that he's still hungry, he throws himself down on the floor to express his frustration. Young children don't have experience in identifying and handling their emotions yet. But one way that you can combat tantrums is to talk about and label emotions, starting when your child is very young. In my interview with Dr. Mark Brackett, author of Permission to Feel, he touched on how we can become emotion scientists so that emotions help rather than hinder our success. In his book, he presents a 5-step method that he calls RULER. This evidence-based approach to a social and emotional learning has been adopted by nearly 2,000 schools, pre-K through high school across the United States and in other countries. RULER is an acronym that teaches the skills of emotional intelligence, those associated with recognizing, understanding, labeling, expressing, and regulating emotion. Decades of research have shown that these emotional intelligence skills are essential to effective teaching and learning, sound decision-making, physical and mental health, and success in school and beyond. Talking about emotions can help children process their feelings and better recognize different emotions in themselves and others. And although this might seem easy when children are happy, it might be more challenging in the face of negative emotional responses, like a temper tantrum. For example, let's look at that toddler who's still hungry but doesn't know how to ask for more. You could label the emotion by saying, "You seem angry about something." Labeling emotions can help your child have a better understanding of why he's acting out. When a child's emotional reactions make you angry or upset, it's important to remember that when children exhibit negative emotions, they're often just looking for support or a way to solve a problem. A short talk about emotions can go a long way. Strategy number 5, use humor. One of my favorite ways to diffuse an ornery or defiant child is to get silly and use humor to relieve some of the intensity of the situation. I love to sing a funny song, all off key, of course. For example, if my 3-year-old wants to scream in protest because I won't let him have a bunch of candy bars at the checkout line, I would think nothing of grabbing a candy bar and using it as a microphone to sing something crazy like, "Candy is so sweet and yummy, but if you eat it before you have your dinner, you'll have a bad tummy." The humorous approach might not always work, but I could usually get a chuckle out of my child, as well as the other shoppers waiting in line. Pro tip for you. When your child has a breakdown in public, and it will happen, try not to feel mortified by his display. Most bystanders have been in your shoes. They're more likely to pay attention to how you handle the situation, not to how your child is behaving. So keep your cool and show your child and the onlookers that you've got this. How do you handle your child's meltdowns? Join the conversation on the Mighty Mommy Facebook page, Twitter, or you can email me at mommy@quickanddirtytips.com. And you can also visit my family-friendly Pinterest boards for tips and fun ideas. And I hope you'll subscribe to the QDT newsletter to get parenting tips and more delivered to your inbox. Don't miss an episode. You can listen and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks again to today's sponsors, teencounseling.com and Pinna, the audio streaming service that's custom-made for kids ages 3 through 12. Before I close, I wanted to let you know what's happening on next week's podcast. Next week's episode will focus on middle schoolers and the emotional challenges that they face as they navigate the beginning of the teen world. Parents will have a better understanding of the emotional drama issues that middle schoolers face and how to support them while maintaining your own sanity. So I hope you'll subscribe to the Mighty Mommy podcast wherever you listen so you'll be notified when this episode is available. As always, thanks so much for listening, and until next time, happy parenting.